The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon. Happy Tuesday. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. I believe you have your good lunch and you are grabbing your hot coffee or tea with you. Now, we are very pleased to invite our guest speaker, Mr. Terence Ang from Auto Simply. He will be presenting the topic real-time cycle counting and picking for improved inventory process. This is to help the businesses to optimize the inventory management processes and operational processes with the Sage 300. Now, should you have any question on how your organization can benefit the inventory process, please type them in the chat panel and we will answer them at the end of the session accordingly. Now I'm going to pass back to Mr. Terence Ang.
All right. Thank you, Lynn. Good afternoon to everybody. First and foremost, thank you for joining our session today. My name is Terence Ang. I'm the Technical Director for AutoSimply, and today we want to highlight some of our solutions for Sage 300, focusing mainly on stock counting or cycle counting, as well as picking for sales. So we prepared a very short slide just to show you our product. Let me just, okay. So first, about AutoSimply. So AutoSimply is a Sage developer partner based out of Hong Kong. We have been doing Sage 300 add-on solutions for the past 17 years. And right now, there are more than 600 clients worldwide, primarily maybe in North America, using our product. And there would be at least 1,900 users logging into our barcoding and Sales Anywhere apps worldwide, posting real-time transactions to Sage 300. So for this session, we will actually be focusing more on our app solutions. So everybody, I think, in this room would be very familiar with apps. You use your phone, your tablet, even a laptop if you want to post transactions. Our company have two primary apps. The barcode app, this is meant for the warehouse personnel to do, for example, purchasing, sales, stock count transactions, as well as manufacturing. And we have a second app called Sales Anywhere, which is addressing the sales cycle. So imagine a salesman on the field creating quotations, orders, shipments, invoices, and payment collection. All of our apps are available in Google. So if you're using an Android phone, for example, or tablet, you can go to Google Play Store and download our app. If you are using an iPhone, an iPad, you can go to Apple Store and download the app. And as I mentioned, if you want to still continuously use your laptop or your PC desktop, it's actually possible to download our app through the Microsoft Store. So you can still download it there. The only requirement, of course, is that the operating system of your laptop or PC must run on Windows 10 or 11. So let me just quickly introduce our barcode app again. So this app focuses on the warehouse side. So as you can see, we have the purchase side of the Sage 300 that we want to do. So you can imagine receiving, returning. Today, our focus would be on the stock take side. So imagine using your mobile phone, walking around the warehouse floor, doing stock count, cycle counts. But of course, the scope goes beyond stock taking. We can do manufacturing. We can do sales shipments. In connection to sales shipments, we can do picking. So this is something that, again, we will highlight a bit later. But on top of that, we can even do shopware control as well as lot serial recording with GS1 HIBC barcode scanning. So maybe you would ask yourself, why do we need such an app? The main objective here is to make Sage real time. So rather than have somebody do something on the warehouse, for example, receive or do a count, rather than write it on a piece of paper, you want the user to be able to connect to Sage real time and post the entry as it happens. By doing it this way, we are making it more efficient. Instead of two people posting one transaction, you have the frontliner, in this case, the warehouse man, posting to Sage directly. Since ideally we are scanning the barcodes off the boxes or off the paper, it would also be more accurate. So there would be less mistakes within Sage 300 in terms of, let's say, an item code or even a quantity being transacted. Now, if we focus for today on the stock take challenges in Sage, for those of you who are using Sage inventory control for the physical inventory routine, where you do your worksheets and the inventory counts, one major limitation of Sage is that it cannot count by lot or serial. So any of you who have lots or serial numbers, you know that Sage cannot count by lot or even by serial number. The only thing that Sage IC allows us to do is record what lot or what serial number has a variance at the end of the count. So it's not allowing you to count by lot as you see the item in the lot. So that's a major limitation for those with lots and serials. Another major problem that we encounter is the delay in counting. So if you're doing it manually, people are writing on a piece of paper what they have counted. Somebody has to input this into Sage. There could be some mistakes there, but there is mainly a time delay. And eventually, by the time the count needs to be reconciled, maybe we have lost 1 or 2 or 3 days already. So there is a delay, there is inefficiency there. The third major challenge is that we only see in Sage the end result of the count. So when I generated the count sheet, I know this item, for example, has a total count of 10, but there is no audit trail how that 10 was arrived at. So we want to be able to see as we count who, when, where counted what item to arrive at a certain total count. So that audit trail is important and it's not available in Sage just using inventory control. Now, the fourth one here is about data accuracy. So this is where the barcoding actually comes in to the stock pick. So if we are doing things manually, using paper and pen, if you're dealing with long item codes, there would be mistakes. If we have lots and serial numbers, you can just imagine people writing the wrong lot, writing the wrong serial number, and posting to Sage incorrect data. So as we know, garbage in, garbage out, and the data becomes ineffective if there's too many mistakes during stock count. And then maybe one other limitation that we usually encounter is data connectivity. So if we have a very big warehouse, if you have situations where you have stocks on the field or outside your infrastructure, then there might not be a Wi-Fi connection there, and we might not be able to do stock count properly. But all of these challenges can be addressed by our stock take solution. So let's now talk about the main features of the stock take product. So first thing is real-time count by lot and by serial number. So the stock take module can stand alone, but ideally it would be used together with our barcode product and the app. So we allow now the users, the warehouse man themselves, the frontline person to do the count as they walk around, scanning items, boxes, and inputting the quantities, scanning the lots and serial numbers, and building up the count to arrive at the final count. We also allow the user to generate multiple cycle count worksheets. So in Sage, for those of you who are very familiar with the physical inventory, it is limiting you to counts by location. But we know if we want to do it the proper way, which is by cycle count, it would be multiple worksheets counting different item groups within the same location. So we want to be able to assign items to be item A1, A2, A3, or B1, B2, B3 in terms of cycle count priority. So maybe A1 items will be counted daily or weekly. Maybe B1, B2 items will be counted monthly or quarterly. So this is just a question of policy, but for the same location, we would be counting items differently in terms of worksheet. So that's something that the StockTake module can do as well. Now, we also have, of course, a means to track the history of the count because we have the audit trail. We would see how a count has been arrived at, who using which scan and which location had that count. And lastly, we can do offline stock takes. So if we need to, let's say, go to an outside location, so for those of you maybe who has to count stocks held by their out for consignment, so they can even go out of the office to do counts offline and then come back to the office to upload the count later on. So before I go into a demo, let me also just quickly talk about GS1. So for those of you who are familiar with barcode scanning, when you scan a barcode, typically you only get one information. So if you scan, let's say, the can of a Coke or a Pepsi can, you only get the UPC code, which is Coke or Pepsi. But ideally, we can use something called a GS1 code, which allows us to combine multiple information into one label. So with one scan, it's actually possible to combine, for example, the product number, the batch number, which is lot, serial number, if it has expiry dates, and even possibly a quantity. So when I go through a warehouse, you can now imagine as I scan the label, I'm actually getting the item, the count, and even the batch lot serial number already inputted in one scan. If we don't have a GS1 label, the effect is we need to scan multiple times. So imagine an item which is serialized. So I have to scan first the item and then scan the serial numbers so that I am able to get multiple serial number records. All right. So at this point, let me just go out of PowerPoint and then go into Sage. So let's talk about StockTake first. So right now you are looking at the Sage 300 main menu desktop. And you can see here under the inventory control module in Sage, we have our AT StockTake module. So this is the StockTake solution from AutoSimply. We put it under inventory control to make it easy for the user to find which functionality would be needed for StockTake. The first thing that you would notice is, let me go to the AP setup under options. I won't go into too much detail in the setup, but I only wanted to highlight here how we can set up a value-based or a usage-based ABC category for cycle count purposes. So the idea here is using the information within Sage. So Sage IC already knows which items you have, what is the cost of those items in terms of valuation, and we can use, for example, 50% of your stock valuation to arrive at which items belong to category A. And then 30% would be B, 20% would be C. Now within A items, you can then further categorize it to be A1, A2, A3, if you prefer. On a similar manner, we can also categorize items based on usage. So for items that are used more than the other items, maybe 60% of them would be A, 25% would be B, and so on and so forth. So this is how the system can be used to categorize items for cycle count purposes. And with that, of course, we would then have a periodic item cycle count calculation. So for today, let me just quickly demonstrate how I could refresh the data in Sage to give me a ranking of items based on A, B, C, and within each category, 1, 2, 3. So this is the cycle count calculation, wherein I can then proceed to the item cycle count group assignment, where I could see, for example, an item A11030 for location 1. Based on our setting, the system would categorize it as B item for value, but an A item in terms of usage. And within the A and B category, you can see that it's ranked 2 and ranked 1 accordingly. If we expand it across all locations, you can see the ranking for the selected location only versus all locations. And this is now allowing us to decide whether this item should be A1, A2, or maybe B1 or B2. So this is, of course, can be done on a per item basis. It can also be imported into the system. The end result is I would then have a grouping of items based on cycle count. Now going to the next step, which is to generate a count worksheet. So this is now the generate worksheet screen. If I was implementing cycle count, then all I have to do is call out the cycle count group. So if I want to do daily cycle counts of A1 items, this is how I would do it. If it's weekly, monthly, quarterly, or even yearly for C1, C2 items, this is how you would trigger it. But for today, just to simplify, I will just extract a limited worksheet for item A11030, for example, to A1900B, or G, let me make it G. So this is just a limited range of items, and we can then extract that into a count sheet. Notice now that we have a batch number 4 for this stock take, and I can do another worksheet, but this time, let's say for A1320 only. And this is for the same location, another count sheet, stock take number 5. So this is just to highlight how we can have multiple worksheets running at the same time for the same locations. So with that worksheet, I would then have this inventory worksheet where if I want to use the 4th record, this is now what we expect to count. But instead of just relying on pencil and paper to input a quantity here, what we want to do is go to barcode, log in as a barcode user, and then do the count via the app. So I'm doing it using my laptop, but in the real world, what we expect to see is maybe a tablet or a phone. If you want to use a more industrial grade handheld, something like a Zebra MC33. So that's even better due to the droppability and the battery life and the quickness of scanning. But even just using your mobile phone is enough to do a stock count. And you can see here our barcode main menu. Today we would focus on the stock count, but notice that I can do PO receipts, OE shipments, stock transfer, for example. But clicking on stock count, I actually have here 2 options. So today we want to focus on the AT, which is the advanced stock take stock count, but we can even support the standard physical inventory count of Sage. But of course, it has its limitations, which we mentioned earlier today. So going into AT stock count, I can then select which location I'm working on, and I can ideally scan the worksheet. But even without a barcode in front of me, I can always just search for all open worksheets. I want to use, let's say, count number 4. And this is now opening exactly the same information as on the desktop screen, but this time this is on my handheld or my phone. And ideally, of course, the warehouse man would then just scan the barcode of the boxes. So if, let's say, I scan A110, let's say A13220, sorry, wrong number, A13220. So this is now how it would look. I can then input the quantity. So let's say I counted 28. So that's now counted as 28. If, let's say, I want to just click on A11050 and put 33, so this is now the stock count for that item. And let's say we want to process an item with lots or serial number. So in Sage, I would use A1900G. So this is the calculator example, and you can see how I can scan the lot. I can even search. So if I want to search for lot number, which already exists in Sage, I can do it this way. So maybe 5 of this, I saw 3 of that. So that's a way of inputting lot counts. But ideally, I am scanning it. So let's say I see 00020 April, and I counted 10. So this is now a third line here. And let's input that. If I wanted to scan an item which is serial track, again, I should be scanning the serial number of the boxes. But again, if I want to, I can just search and then select what I have actually counted. So that's a possibility. But ideally, it will be something like this, April 00202, for example. So I'm typing it in because I'm using my laptop. But imagine if I have a barcode gun attached to my laptop, or I'm using a phone with a camera and I'm just scanning it off the labels. At this point, let's say I need to go on a coffee break. So I want to review. So this is what I have already counted. Everything looks correct for a total item count of 83. I can then post temporarily. Notice now how the system is asking whether to add it or to override a prior count. So typically it will be always add. The only time they would click on override is if, let's say, the user makes a mistake. And at this point, the user on the floor is actually posting a transaction into Sage. And if we go back to the desktop and refresh, you would now see that we have count entries for the items in question. If I go into A11050 and look at the history, I would see that initially it was at 0 because when we generated the count sheet, it's at 0. And then we have then updated it to be 33. I can see the date, I can see the time, and who. So this is the counter which have then updated that information. If we want to look at A1900, so this is now applying a filter, sorry, A1, apply. Okay, let me do it this way then. So this is A1900B or G, and we know this is lot and serial track. So notice now that the count also has the lot balances. So this is what we have already counted by lot, and this is what we have already counted by serial number. And again, of course, you have the history. So that's the major enhancement that we have done for the stock take module. Now, eventually, of course, we would complete the count and then just post the reconciliation. I won't go into it anymore today. do note that I can download the stock count. We can get the data on the device and then do a count upload later on if we want to work offline. So that, in essence, is what StockTake module would do for Sage 300 in combination with the barcode stock count functionality. So this is how we think Sage 300 should do counting for inventory moving forward. All right. So let me go back to the PowerPoint slide and then talk about the next topic, which is picking. So picking refers to how we are getting stock out of the warehouse to fulfill the requirement for a sales order shipment. So the challenges that we have in Sage OE is that there is no proper stock reservation or commitment routine. So for those of you who are using the commit quantity functionality in Sage, typically you are asking your sales customer service guy to commit quantities without really looking at it in terms of inventory. So ideally, the person in charge of picking is the one assigning how much to commit and which specific lots and sales to commit. Now, this is referred to in terms of lack of control. So you don't know in Sage, if I have 10 sales orders, which orders should be picked first and which items within those sales orders should be picked. So if you allow partial shipments of orders, there is really no control within Sage what should be picked on the warehouse side. In a similar fashion, if your picking takes time, so if you have big sales orders and you want to see the status of picking for that order, there is actually no visibility in Sage at the moment. So when you post the SO shipment in Sage, it's already after the fact, and it would be normally 100% of the items already shipped. So there's no way to see if you're 50%, 70%, 80% picked already for those orders. And then lastly, there is really no control in Sage as to who will pick and which lots or serial numbers to pick. So Sage just allows us to post a shipment against the order. There's no control in between those two steps. So what we now want to do is to add what we call the barcode pick list module, which allows us to generate a pick list of the sales orders. So once we have created the pick list, you can print it out or just use your mobile phone to call out the pick list, pick the items on the floor, update Sage as to what has already been picked, and when we are ready, then post the picking and trigger the shipment from Sage. So this way, you now have the complete visibility on the picking process on 300. So let me now show it to you from Sage point of view. All right, so we are now referring to picking, and as you can imagine, it would now fall under the order entry module. So in a similar fashion, we put the module under the corresponding Sage module for ease of access for the user. And you can see that the first step is actually generating of pick lists. But of course, prior to the pick list, you would assume there would be sales orders already in Sage. So let me just quickly create an example here for us to process. So let's say I have a customer 1400 where we want to sell items A11030, let's say just for 20 pieces, and then A1900G for lot tracked items, and then another A1900B for serialized items. So this is just a quick example of creating a sales order. And this is standard Sage. So I want to create this SO 76. Now, the next step is for us to trigger the picking. But before that, let me just quickly show you the pick list option, where note how I can set up the pick list to also allow committing of quantity. So rather than the customer service guy committing quantities at the point of order entry, we want the supervisor in charge of picking to decide what should be picked and what items should be committed. So let me now go into the generate pick list tab. And just for today, let's use the last order I created. So notice that we have here several ways to filter orders to be processed. So today I'm just doing it the most simple way, which is by order number. But imagine that if you want to, let's say, pick based off a shipping route, or based on sales territory, or based on customer groups. So any of those methods would be possible. We just need to maybe customize how we generate the pick list. But out of the box, this is how we would filter. And at this point, I can just select which ones I want to pick. So this is the order we just created. And this is now creating a new pick list number 4. Going now to the pick list screen, the supervisor can then decide on, for this pick list number 4, who will pick it. So I have the option here to say, I want user 1 to pick this pick list. So this can be assigned if we want to. I can also indicate the quantity to be picked. So if I want to do partial shipments, that is possible. And if the item is lot or serial track, I can even allocate which lots should be picked. So let's say this is lot 16, 10 pieces. And then for an item which is serial track, maybe I want to allocate to pick which serial numbers. So this is 20 items, for example. And at this point, I can say, notice that as I'm allocating the quantities, it is also being committed if we want it to be done that way. So this is now committed in Sage. And if we actually drill down, we can see that this is order 76, wherein we are committing 20 pieces. For it to be triggered, for it to be active on the picking side, all I have to do now is to set the status to approve and save. So this is now a pick list, which is active on the floor. And I would then go back to my barcode module, wherein I have here a pick list function. So if I'm barcode user 1, I can then look for which pick list is assigned to me or can be picked by unassigned pick lists. I can then call out the pick list in question. And this is now telling me I should pick partially the first 2 items and then pick 20 of the last item. Again, ideally, I am going through my scanning processing. So if I scan A11030, I can then indicate here how many have I picked. So assuming there is maybe I cannot find 2 more, I just picked 8 initially. And then for A1900G, of the 10, maybe I just was able to input or get 5. Now, whether we allow the user to get from a different lot and record the picking accordingly, that's a security setting. So if you want to be very strict, they can only pick what is assigned to them. We can do that. Or you want to be a bit more flexible. If I cannot find lot A, I can get lot B. And then finally, let's say for the serial tracked item, I can then say which of these lots am I picking. So if as I go around, as I scan, let's say April 120, you can see that it's now picked, and then maybe I pick 2. So April 00121. So these are the 2 items I have picked. At this point, maybe I need to go on a smoking break. I can then review what I have already picked. If it looks correct, I can then save. And this is now updating our pick list. This is telling the system that this user has already partially picked pick list number 4. And if we go back and refresh our pick list screen in the desktop, I could see what has been picked and specifically which lot or which serial numbers has been picked. And of course, all that is left is to continue picking until it's 100% picked and eventually ship it out. But just assuming we allow partial shipments. So if this is good enough to be shipped, for example, notice now that I have here a create shipment routine, which allows us to trigger the creation of a OE shipment against this pick list. Notice now that we have shipment 70 already posted in Sage, and the pick list now only reflects what is left for picking. So the user can then just proceed to pick list, call out the same pick list number 4, and proceed to doing the picking on the floor. So you can see the quantities outstanding. And let's just say I want to pick 0016 April and quantity of 5. So that would be totally picking the remaining balance for that lot. Notice now how a line is changed to a green color the moment it is fully picked versus a line which is partially picked. So let's just say I pick these 2 lines here on top. And you can see now the difference. So this is a visual representation to the user, telling them what is the status of this picking. Again, I can review, and if everything looks good, I can post. And again, we are refreshing the pick list and showing up as a partial shipment for pick list number 4. And I could actually trigger another shipment if we want to. So that essentially is what the pick list module is doing. It gives us the visibility, the control, and a way to track the status of picking for the orders on its way to become an order shipment in 300. All right. So that is essentially the scope of today's presentation. We have highlighted to you the stock take advanced module. We have shown you how it would work with the barcode stock take, as well as showed you how we can add a pick list module to give the visibility for the picking of orders.
Thank you,
Let me now
Terence.
pass you back to Lynn.
Yeah, thank you, Terence. So let me share what is let me toss over to share my screen now. Terence, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, that's great. So, just like to share with all the 600 users, we all know that we are trying to save the money while investing in technology. Now, this is maybe a similar challenge to many finance department, even for manufacturing companies. You are finding a hard balance between the two. Is to stay vital to keep pace with today's market. We have also aware that for your business when it grows, your need will also change, which means that ERP software will just need to keep up with you accordingly with your business. The beauty part of 300 is also having the kind of it's also unique position to help your company grow, but also adding the required module that you need confidently. So if you don't need any of the add-on module, you just don't need according. But in any time your business is outgrown and you require for one, you can always build in here. So that is always the reason why we encourage our customer to make sure they are comfortable and share across accordingly. So let me share. Oh, Terence, are you still able to see my slides?
It's just the organizer presenter slide, the white screen.
Okay. Sorry to use. How about now?
It's still the same.
Is it the slides mode?
Still, no, there's no slide showing right now. It's just the introduction to the webinar.
Okay. Does it change now?
No, it's still just the
Okay.
introduction to the webinar. Yep, I can see the slides.
Okay, cool. So this is the stage 300, all our ISV add-on solutions that some other companies may need or not required. Like what we mentioned by Terence just now, he has shown the capabilities of the AutoSimply, the add-on solution for inventory or this in real-time counting is something that we require at certain stage. Now, we have also wanted to share with some of our customer here, the user. You may also wanted to consider what is the key takeaway for today. For today's key takeaway, this is something that Terence has shown you the benefit of having inventory module that you are able to make use of that to lower your ownership cost and as well your frontline warehouse personnel. So something that helps to improve the inventory control. I would like to continue the Q&A session. The question one that received from the floor is actually there is one Malaysian customer. I will read out the question and have the Karen to answer for us. We are exploring the option to improve our pick and pack process for our APAC 6 entities. Now, we are also investigating an add-on module for our JB Malaysia that can help and automate the manufacturing orders and link to such inventory. Terence, for this question, do you have anything to add on or suggest?
Yep, for this particular question, so we know that we have the Sage 300 manufacturing module that can actually handle the production process and link directly into Sage inventory control. So all our products are built into Sage 300 and makes full use of the inventory information in Sage, as well as the purchasing and the sales modules. Now, referring to the pick and pack process, so the picking solution that we have just demonstrated a while ago already highlights how we can improve the picking process for Sage 300. Working in conjunction with the barcode picklist, we can then see the visibility of which items should be picked, which orders, and even do the committing of lot and serials, as well as the actual picking of items off the shelf. So definitely this is something we can do with Sage 300 and AutoSampling.
Okay, let's move to the next question. The challenges the customer is facing is what is the production process with connected QC and dispatch process?
So we also have actually a QC module that works in conjunction with the manufacturing module as well as the purchasing module of Sage 300. So as we receive items into stock, whether it's from purchasing or from the production floor, it can indeed go into QC. And eventually, assuming it is accepted, then the next step is to dispatch it to either sales or finished good products, or dispatch it to the production floor as raw materials. So again, the core functionality of Sage 300 can be enhanced by auto-sampling from a QC and picking operation.
Okay. The next question is, what is the missing stock and mismatched product loading and unloading here?
Mm. So typically this, I assume this is referring to the result of incorrect or improper stock count. So what happens typically is when we do stock counts just using pencil and paper, using maybe the IC physical inventory, there would be mistakes along the way, whether it's incorrect item being updated, whether it's incorrect lot or serial number being uploaded. And when you are doing everything manually without the benefit of scanning, what happens is the wrong item is being updated. So item A, which might look a bit similar to item B, might be incorrectly updated in terms of stock count. And this is now where you have this mismatch problem when it comes to shipping or counting at a later stage. So with the use of stock take and barcode scanning, this should be fully resolved, especially if the client has locks and serial numbers.
Thank you, Terence. The next question is, we have customer is managing a high volume of small items and in and out. They are facing a
Mm.
difficulty part and very fast pace. Now they are facing a difficult to record. What do you propose here?
Yep. So of course we know that in the real world, we still need to record even though there's a high pace of transaction. So the only solution here is to make everything real time. So the moment we replace the pencil and pen approach, we make it more efficient. Everything is recorded in the Sage as it is happening. What happens is our stock balances, our on-hand quantities reflect the real value as something happens on the floor, whether it's a sales shipment, a stock count, or even a manufacturing issuance or receipt. Actual items come in and then it is recorded properly within Sage before actually it goes out. So all of this high volume transaction in and outs can be recorded in Sage properly if we are using the barcode module, because this is now empowering people on the floor, on the ground, to record real time.
Okay, let me move to the next question here. From the floor right now, the next question I will just read out here. Is the barcode software free or does it require an additional cost? Terence, I'll answer the question. This is also simply an add-on solution. We are going to have an add-on additional cost. Now the customer, if you are interested, you can reach out to your partner or you can come to reach out to us after this webinar. We will have a contact us details. Just take note that if the solution is able to help you to resolve some of your pain point, reduce the operational cost, as well to improve your productivity, a certain cost is required, then consider that as well. Because it is not only to benefit the finance team, but also the operation and up to downstream the team members in warehouse altogether. Providing a real-time cycle counting does improve the business visibility here. Now, the next question here, Paris, does it support the FIFO, first in, first out?
So first in, first out is just a policy. So if the client is able to implement it in the real world, then the barcode solution, the picking solution will be able to support it as well. So the system does not prevent users from issuing out of first in, first out, but it's actually letting you record what you actually pay. So as you scan the item, the lot, the serial number, you are recording in Sage what you actually physically pay. And ideally, it is first in, first out. But that requires some policy as well. So which bin to put on and which bin to get from. So all of this can be tracked. So we can help implement this, but it's not restricted 100%.
Okay. The next question, is there a provisioning in handling inventory depreciation and assess the value as well?
Mm, So this is not necessarily related to stock take or picking. This might be a bit more related to quality control. So if stock on hand deteriorates, you can imagine it has to go through quality control, and maybe there would be a need to depreciate the cost. But this is an accounting process that
Mhm.
is maybe triggered by quality control.
The QC team. Okay. The next question is, what is the recommended handheld scanning and posting device to work with AutoSimply?
Okay. So technically, we only require Android 5 or later, iOS 9 or later, and Windows 10 or 11. So with that requirement, you can easily imagine pretty much any Android device, whether it's a tablet or a phone, would work. Any Apple device pretty much would work already. Uh, but of course, we have to take into considerations environmental factors. So if you're talking about a freezer or a foundry with very hot or very high temperature, then you might need something a bit more industrial grade, like a Zebra, Cypher Lab, or maybe a Honeywell handheld device. But if you're talking about a room temperature, maybe just doing stock counts within the office work area, then a phone or a tablet would be sufficient.
Okay. For all the attendees, if you have any other question, you can feel free to follow up the question from the floor. Um, so for like the hardware question, we have answered accordingly. Terence, do you have anything for the customer? Is there anything that they should be watch out for the cycle counting?
Mm, there's not much to watch out for, but what we would recommend is to take advantage of this offer from Sage to improve their physical counts, because without cycle counting, then you are reliant on maybe once a year 100% stock count, which hides problems from the company. So
Mm,
with cycle counting, with the means to do it properly and more accurately, this is a way forward to improve our stock handling and basically improve the way we do our business.
okay. So let's talk about cycle counting inventory, right? We all know that having this kind of add-on solution, it does give you some additional cost. But as we mentioned to you guys, if you want to enhance your inventory accuracy and streamline the operation process, this cost is unavoidable. We strongly encourage the customer for having these kind of challenges, as what parents have called out, as well you like to improve your inventory visibility. You can email to us and we will follow up with you and with your partner. After this call, we are going to attach the presentation as well as the recorded webinar for you to review as well to share with your colleagues. Now, should you have any other question here, you can contact us directly. Our email address are input in the response later. Now, on the behalf of Sage team and our presenter, Mr. Terence Ang, I would love to and please thanks for all of you for joining us today. And let's have a great rest of the day and the evening. Thank you so much, Terence. Thank you so much for
Thank
all of
you.
us. Thank you. Goodbye.
Everybody have a great day. Bye bye.